Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the SimSN podcast, the show where I ask some of my favorite questions to some of your favorite people. And today's guest is a do-it-all member for Sim NFL who does a little bit of anything for one of the teams with my favorite nicknames to say. Sir Guest, would you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jieret. I'm the coach and GM of the Las Vegas 49ers
There it is.
and also the college football and basketball coach and hockey coach of your 2025 MAC champion, Western Michigan Broncos. Remember the boat? Also, the Atlanta Hawks and some NBA when I actually remember they exist. So.
Keeping busy.
Uh, a little busy, probably a little busier than I'd like, but that's how life was.
Yeah. So you got the trifecta with Western Michigan. You got all three sports.
Yeah, I figured it was just easier to keep the same school so I wouldn't be confused about forget where I was.
Hmm. Yeah, I get that a lot. I'm not as plugged into college basketball, even though I do play it. So I get confused when I'm like, oh, I'm just Indiana. That's just who I am. And then yeah, I get my wires crossed all the time, forgetting who's who. Um, it doesn't help that there's 300 college basketball programs to pick from or something. Um, Again, I don't know the number because I don't know the sport.
Yeah, 300 something sounds about right.
Yeah.
Although I keep telling Tuscan that if and whenever I actually take Western Michigan to the promised land, I'm leaving for Guam.
Going to Guam. Uh, we need like a reaction image where it's like you win, you go to Disney World. It's like I'm going to Guam. Um,
I'll have to work on that, or maybe I'll hire Ace to do it, something like that.
there you go. Um, so how long have you been involved in online sim sports, and how did you get started?
Uh, wow. How long? Maybe 20, no. Well, it first started with, like pretty much everyone else does, with um, NCAA football, Madden. And I know my story is not unique, and I know I've heard others, such as Squeezy, say pretty much the same thing, where, you know, after a while, it was less about playing the game and more about building up the program, building up the team, improving the stadium, recruiting better people. It would, and I very much fall into that boat. So it would get to the point where I would pretty much sim the entire season, except for maybe one or two games. Of like, okay, I need this game to get in the playoffs, and focus on the recruiting. So once I learned about the world of simulation sports, that seemed like a natural fit. Um, I don't remember when I first started playing them, because I know there were a few that I was in before, even before Old Sim. Uh, I can't remember the name of the first one I was in, but the first one I remember playing was one where you took over an individual person, had to find a team, and then you got plugged in to play snaps. With a player coach who would say, okay, you can play here, there, build up your individual stats. Um, I want to say that was all the way back in 2007, 8.
Hmm.
Wow, that was a while ago. Um, but yeah, eventually I got to the point where I'd find other sims that let me have more of a overall team management role. And then um, dearly departed Pump was the one that invited me and a few others. I think Bellwood was one of the others actually, to join Old Sim, and then like everyone else, made our way over to here. So here we are. Man, has it really been that long? I don't know.
Hey, join the club, man. I hit 40 last year, and I still am in denial about it.
I wish I was 40. You kidding me?
Oh man. So okay, so you got a lot of experience then. So when you started here, both at Western
Hmm.
Michigan and with so in Vegas, so pro players on this site, NFL active people, remember the Raiders for this prolific passing offense that you guys have had with James Hickson and Blank and those guys. Now Andrew Richards. Now, was that something that you set out to do originally, or is that just kind of how the pool came about?
Um, so I actually didn't join the Raiders until their second season.
Oh, okay.
So I was not involved in the initial formation, but dearly departed hot tub major domo culture very much intentionally chose his players as far as setting up for the air raid. Very much wanted to pay homage to the old Raiders teams. Um, so that's the way it was built. And when I came on to be his GM and then eventually his coach in year two, we basically, kept that concept because he wanted to keep it going. And even though he's been away for a while, still feel like I should be keeping it in that realm, although I would love to be able to actually run the ball with any kind of, efficiency. But, when you have James Blank and Andrew Richards, you are going to throw the ball a lot. So,
Yeah.
that's fine. There's no problem with that.
Yeah, and that was and it was super strong in the early days of the sim too. Having a vertical passing attack was definitely the way to go. And then it kind of shifted to there was a blitz heavy meta to combat the long pass, and then running got better, and then it kind of that got rebalanced. So we've already been through a few. I feel like we're kind of like speed running the different eras of the real NFL. Um,
We are, we are. Although I was probably one of the last ones, unfortunately, to catch on to some of the changes, such as the, blitz the entire house every play kind of thing. All of a sudden, it's like, hey, we beat this team. We beat the Chargers easily last time, and now we're giving up 12 sacks. What's up with that?
mm,
And then afterwards, it was like, oh, that's what we're supposed to be doing. Well, wow, sucks.
mm. I
I didn't
remember.
catch on to that. Wait.
Yeah, I remember feeling that way about quarterbacks running and seeing like Chicago or Peter London, the field general, or even Chicago's pocket QB running for like 1,000 yards and being like, oh, QBs can just run the
Yeah,
ball. Like,
yeah. Um, I had actually forgotten until like last year that Gerald Lewis was a pocket quarterback because I remember him being like one of the most prolific runners out there on the
yeah,
Bears. And it's like he's a pocket guy.
yeah, yeah. He's got great speed, but he's got great throw power and his pocket archetype. But yeah, he ran for like 1,000 yards a couple years ago. Um, which I mean, in 2025, like everybody was running for 1,000 yards because that's just how it was.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what it was. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, they're trying to think of any other guys like that. But yeah, you see their archetype and you go, oh, really? Like, I don't know. Maybe the sim is a little because I focused very much early on like scheme and how do I get the maximum number of like scheme bonuses and things.
Mhm.
Um, but there is actually, it seems like, a lot of creativity in terms of how players can be used or how they can thrive, and even in systems or when used in ways that you wouldn't naturally expect.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few people in the sim, both in college and the pros, especially the pros, that are probably a lot more either creative or willing to experiment than I am about stuff. Um, you know, putting taking the ding on out of position changes just to get the three or four or five best players at a position on the field at the same time. You know, trying all kinds of throwing a lot of blitzes out there. It's kind of interesting to see what people come up with, and you know, um, bless them for it. Hopefully, if it works, hopefully it doesn't work against me, at least not until I've actually noticed it happens. Um, but yeah, I don't know that I'm not exactly one of the most creative minds out there as far as that goes. Uh, so probably should be a little more daring, but I think the last couple of times I've tried it, it smacked me in the face pretty badly.
Mm.
So I think I tried doubling Ellswick, for example, in their game against Kansas City right after they got him. It kind of worked, but then everyone else went off. So
Yeah.
probably won't do that again.
Yeah. I remember, was it 2000, was it 24? Like having issues with my college offense in Indiana and then like completely redesigning it and then like not scoring a touchdown for 3 weeks and being like, okay, maybe I overthought that. um,
Does that involve a scheme change and all?
when, no, but I had put I had a receiving back, Jeff Albuquerque, who I was using as my wide receiver, and then I tried like putting him back at runner and running a lot of like screens and putting him heavy in the passing game as more of like a CMC type of thing. And it
Hmm.
absolutely did not work. My offense just like ground to a halt and we could not score. Um, so then I moved him back to wide receiver. I think I was also starting a receiving fullback as my tight end at that time. So I was trying all sorts of
Wow.
crazy stuff. Yeah, I had my wide receiver one was a receiving running back, and my tight end one was a receiving fullback. It was because I was trying to get because I had been gen with all these like runners, and I was trying to run a much more balanced kind of scheme. So I was trying to figure out how to use some of these older pool guys while I started recruiting my own. Um, I think we went six. We went 6-6, so it kind of worked.
It got you to the bowl. That was good enough.
Yeah. Are you have you invested in any of the athlete archetypes that are coming into college football? That's kind of still a
Um,
black box to me. I'm curious as to how those guys are going to turn out.
I've recruited quite a few, but I don't think I have any actually starting for me
Hmm.
right now. Um, I do have a couple that I'm really looking forward to using. Um, one of them is uh, Jeffrey Davidson. He's a bandit athlete. I recruited last year. Um, Sub earmuffs. I kind of stole him from Michigan. Um, Kind of won the flip last minutes. He kind of let off the gas because he did not know how far away I was, so he let me back in, and there we go. But I think, yeah, he's going to play a pretty prominent part for me, probably about a year or so. My linebacking core is kind of weak, so I envision he'll probably be man in the middle of my defense when he's good and ready. But no, outside of that, I don't really have any athletes on my end that, I expect to play a major role for me. I have seen a couple around the MAC. Uh, Ohio has one a slot back that they're playing as a tight end right now. I think he's doing pretty well. I'll have to go look up his stats some point, but I haven't really seen any. How about you? Have you actually been using them yourself?
I I got a couple 3 stars last year that are currently redshirting, and then I'm going after a few other this year, but nothing blue chip. So I haven't really had a chance to see any. The biggest one I've seen, we played Notre Dame this year, and I think they're starting a triple threat athlete at quarterback. Um, yeah. So, and I forget his name. So that's the biggest in terms of impact. That's the biggest one I know of. Um,
Yeah, we've only had athletes for, is this the second season or the
I
third?
think it's third. It's no more than that for sure.
Yeah.
Either two or three. Um,
Yeah, I can't remember either. It feels like it's been more, but for some reason I cannot remember a prominent athlete like actually doing stuff that I've seen
yeah,
them echo.
yeah. Because about maybe it's only two. Because I don't we don't have any upperclassmen yet. Um, so yeah, that's you know that's a known very new thing. I'm interested to see how those end up, especially as they start getting secondary archetypes or secondary positions and archetypes and start playing all over the field. Um, yeah, so it's interesting to have something like I definitely know that I don't know how this is going to turn out. Um, um, compared to unknown unknowns where something happens, we're like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Now
Right.
it's like, yes, we definitely have this new thing that hasn't really hatched yet, but is in the process. So I just find it intriguing to see, who's gonna stay where, and who's gonna be, one of the big breakout athlete, who either spends significant time playing both positions, or booms in the draft and becomes like a big deal. Like
Oh,
was it
I
Hunt?
can't wait to see how they pop up when they become draft eligible.
Yeah. What was the guy in the NFL last year that was it Jaguars traded at for who plays
Oh,
res-
Travis Hunter.
yeah, there we go. I'm waiting for someone like that to pop off in a few years, and get a bunch of draft accolades based on the fact that they could fit almost any offense or any defense or whatever it is. Um, oh, I got a slot back that just signed with me this week. He's 6 foot
Mhm.
6. So he can play wide receiver or tight end. Um, so I'll probably stick him at tight end and try to and just chuck balls over the top of linebackers and see if that works. Um,
Yeah, I've not been able to use tight ends very well myself, and maybe it's just because I've been running so much air raid
mm.
in college and pro that it's just not they're just not getting the looks that other schemes are doing. So one of
Yeah,
these days I'll balance this out.
yeah, that came up. I think with Don Scott too, getting traded from Carolina. How they were like, yeah, he's this incredible athlete, and then we just whether it's air raid or whether it's the depth at wide receiver they have or a little bit of both, he's just not really getting the targets that you would want a guy of his caliber to get. Um, so they flipped him for 3 draft picks, including a high second and a future first. So
They really, yeah, they got a pretty good. I mean, it's a really good haul for him, especially as you pointed out that Baltimore's picks are very high up in the round. Um, yeah, good bit of work by Jambo because he definitely had a cap crunch coming since he had a 4 first round picks that they made with 5th year options. I'm not sure if they declined them all or accepted them or what. I know technically they had 5, but the 5th one is Scribner,
Scribner.
and there's no way they are. Obviously he'll never have to buy a beer in Kalamazoo for as long as he lives, because he's undefeated against Tennessee, Sleazy. But yeah, he's totally not getting a 5th year option picked up. He'll be lucky to get a you know multi-million-dollar contract.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm interested to see, from a since we brought up Don Scott and what Carolina's going to do with the rest of those players. Because as good a job as Jambo's done to build that roster up, um, you know, he's also doing pretty good work to try and stay ahead of the cap crunch.
Mm-hmm.
But once this, I'll be they're definitely one of the teams I'll be following the off season.
Yeah.
Um, Between them and and Washington and Denver, and are they finally going to die? Is this finally the year they get to fall off? Please, for the love of God, can they finally die?
Yeah. Yeah. But both Washington and Denver have had more losses, more close calls, and are definitely reaching that cliff as far as their rosters are concerned. Maybe Washington a little bit more so, just because of age. But yeah, both of them looking at at age and cap as uh, you know knowing that they couldn't kick the can down the road forever. Like the
Right.
real life Saints, like eventually you do have to pay the bill at some point. Um,
Yeah.
and I do think that's kind of coming. But yes, we've been saying the time is coming for the last 2 seasons. So I don't know.
Yes. So along that line, Commish, let's never institute void years in The Sims.
Oh God, no. There is a we talk about realism and wanting realism, but there's a
Mhm.
time when realism crosses over and supersedes fun, that I have no desire to get into, and we I don't want it to take a team of accountants to figure out what everyone's contract is, let alone how to afford it. Um, no. um, no, fifth year options alone has been tough enough to implement, on the interface. That um, yeah, we got that. We got AAV added, which I think I'm good for now. Um, but yeah, yeah, void years, any of that crazy, like, converting salary into bonus into next. No.
Mhm. Post June 1 cuts and all that other stuff.
Right. Yeah, I can't even. It's a lot. Oh, comp picks. We have comp picks too, which are their own fun little thing to do. um, I don't know. I feel like there are enough moving pieces to keep GMs busy, um, and enough complexity that good GMs are incredibly valuable, um, but can actually do the job as a hobby in your spare time. I would hope.
Oh, totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah. Um, Dallas is another one I'm looking at. You mentioned Dallas and Washington, or you mentioned Denver and Washington. Dallas
Hmm.
and the LA Rams are two others that I'm looking at.
Yes, the
Rams
Rams.
had a ton of bonus, moved most of their draft picks 2026 because they just couldn't bring anyone else on, couldn't pay a first round pick because so much is bonus. And then Dallas is another team that's done great acquiring young talent, but is having the issue of how are we going to pay them all. Um, and they have the added issue of a quarterback in the mix as well with Cecilio Fuentes. They got to figure out if they're going to pay for him or try to put Bozeman or someone else in there. Um,
What is Fuentes like? Is he up for a new contract?
mhm.
I didn't realize he was that old.
Yeah, he's in a contract year. I think he's 30, 29 or 30, maybe
Oh,
29. But yeah, yeah, he's in a contract year. So was Noel. So now we have two teams who get to figure out what to do with their former Dallas quarterbacks. Um, and of course, Chop's up this year as well. And I can't imagine Kansas City moving on from him after what he's done for them. But
oh, no. Yeah, I have to imagine he's under contract with them. God, get my vacation.
yeah, you've I think the AFC West has started might be competing with the NFC East as the new kind of division of death. Um, I think like eight was 8 and 9. I guess the Chiefs were last place, but there was definitely a couple years ago. I think where like 8 and 9 was as low as it got. Um,
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, Dean has been aggressive ever since he took over the Chargers to to retool and remake the team, and Dean's never been shy about making moves he thought um, would make his team better, right away. And then Nukebaum's done a heck of a job. Just he's brought Kansas City up a lot faster, a lot better, a lot quicker than I thought they would. I thought he'd need another season to get up to that level, and he's definitely proved me wrong. And then there's Alex, you know, still not getting play.
yeah. Um, Other than your own division, which has plenty of its own storylines, any other storylines you're following? Any other big player news or teams on the up or on the down that you're watching through the season and through the off season?
Um, well, I've always been kind of following Seattle, partially because I am a Seahawks fan in real life, and also because I've thought that they should have been in the playoffs now for a couple of seasons, and
Hmm.
then stuff happened, brutal schedule, uh, weird things happened. Um, if I remember correctly, I believe they're kind of hanging on to that last playoff spot in the NFC,
Yeah,
if I
right now
remember
they're the
correctly,
seventh seed.
and hope, I'm rooting for them to make it. Uh, but the Rams, they keep shuffling on, and you know, and the Niners have, Romero's really played really well for them, and then well, the Cardinals, and you know, uh, they do their own thing. But so the Seahawks are a team I follow, um, and then I guess a lot of them, some of the other teams I kind of follow just for individual stories, not so much the division as a whole. For example, I was interested to see how Brandon Savage would do in Baltimore. Um, I know he struggled. The jury is still very much out because of that whole snafu with the scheme change thing. I still believe in him. Uh, I think he'll be just fine. Well, it'll be interesting to see now that they got him Don Scott, if they can put him to use there better than they did in Carolina. So I think Baltimore is also running air raid. Is that right?
Yes, that's what they switched to, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see if their version of air raid can take advantage of Don Scott better than Carolina's did. Um, and then outside of that, um, I kind of the divisions, the rest of the teams, I kind of follow tangentially. I'll pick up stories here and there about um, Philadelphia and Aaron Poole and the Saints having a lot of they have a promising young nucleus, but they've got a lot of turnover coming this offseason, considering their cap space and the amount of you know I think like a third of their roster is going to be out of contract, if not more than that. Wow, now I think about it, a lot of the stories I tend to follow tend to be cap related. I am spend way too much time with them.
It's been on my mind a lot too, only because I know that once trade deadline, I feel like once trade deadline hits, and I know we had to extend it for a bit there, but once it passes and we've gotten all those trades cleared out, it's into valuations and it's into eventually extension
Mm-hmm.
season. That's when the fun starts for the GMs. Um, so yeah, I no my that's exactly where my brain has been. Um, though it also helps that I have LLB to take care of the weekly game plans, so was able to offload
Yeah,
that.
yeah, probably I should probably pick up an assistant at some point to help me with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of assistants a tricky thing because if you get a person who's like really driven and wants to learn, like they can find stuff to do. But I feel like the
Hmm.
lack of like a distinct role kind of hurts. I feel like a lot of people cycle through, like they join, or or it just happens that people are new and so they want to join stuff as fast as possible. And the NFL, it's harder to jump in, so you jump in as an assistant, and then if people don't stick around or don't find their niche, they I only say that because the Browns have cycled through a few assistants and neither one really stuck. So, but it's
Yeah,
it's
I
fun.
think
It's fun having more people around just to bounce ideas off of.
it is. It is. That's true. I think we tried to hire someone else once to be the coach, so I could focus on GMing, and then he kind of disappeared. So I don't think we've really tried since. But, um, maybe we'll get that in play. But yeah, I tend to use my assistants more as sounding boards for what do you think, or hey, do some research for this. Um, Not sure how everyone else uses their assistants, but
Yeah. Um, f- for you personally, on a spectrum of like, you know, Moneyball spreadsheet, super data driven to like, pure vibes. Where do you put your, I don't know, your, I guess either coaching or GMing? Where do you put your sim style?
Um, I'd say it's kind of in the middle. I'll use spreadsheets quite a bit to, kind of set things up, whether it's game planning or, plotting my draft board or whatever, both in coaching and GM. But then after a while, when it comes to it, once I get past the first few layers, the first few rounds or whatever else, I don't have oh, okay, well, I'm down to my 23rd best running back, so let's
Mm,
go here. And after a while, it just becomes vibes.
yeah.
It just becomes, it's like I'll use the spreadsheets and the data to point me in the right direction, and then, once I've been kicked down the mountain, all right, let's see what I hit on the way down.
Yeah. It's always funny to use your last scouting points and run out of scouted candidates and be like, okay, we're picking one skill from the combine or one number off the sheet and we're just going that looks good. Like, maybe.
Yeah, I don't understand how people are willing to do that for like 300 different, draft players. It's like, okay, let's do two scouting, scout two attributes per person and then move on if we don't like what we see. Um, I kind of like to know a little bit more than that. So one of the things I kind of have to do is stay away from the scouting board until like not long before the actual draft occurs, because otherwise I'll get itchy fingers and I'll just
Mm.
keep clicking, and then I'll be out of points about a week before the draft, and that's a terrible place to be. So, but yeah, for those of you who, I'm just going to click here and click here, and hope I hit the lottery scratch off winner. God bless. You're a you're a braver person than I.
Yeah. Who was it? Was it?
I still don't know how you found LaFell. I have no idea
Oh,
how you.
oh man, LaFell. There were probably there were probably like 20 or 25 guys that I had really high on my college rankings.
Mhm.
That were otherwise, fairly either didn't get a combine invite or did fairly, tepid work there. Um, and I did a lot of single attributes, and then a few of them I did too. Like you say, looking for lottery winners, and I struck out 24 times, and just and there was or maybe they were decent, maybe they were mid round picks, and I thought okay maybe
Mhm.
if they're as good as some of these other guys who are getting more attention, maybe they'll have some value. Um, and then LaFell, I hit 270s, and I checked his strength, and it was like 96. I was like, okay, so that was being overly committed to my own college football, my college rankings, and then just getting super lucky with one diamond and a bunch of rough. Um,
So you didn't even have them fully scouted by the time you drafted them, did you?
no, and that drove me crazy because I didn't know what his overall was. Um, I didn't even know his potential. Though with the super high guys, you figure they probably rolled high potential because they probably, you know, double or triple boom, rolled a high potential and then boomed off of it. Um, but yeah, Philadelphia was irate. They're like, how do you not like? How did you like? Because Philly has got like the whole line for everyone they draft. It's like here are all seven of or eight of their attributes. Um, so yeah, I definitely not going to make that mistake again. At least once I know I'm going to draft a guy, at least get to four attributes so I know his overall. Um, but hey, I had two pass blocking scores and strength. I was like, what else? Like, I'm going to draft this guy.
Yeah.
How, I suppose it would have been worth 4 extra points out of 1,000 to get his overall when I drafted him, but
Well, you needed those 4 points for lottery ticket number 26.
of course. Hey, I
Yeah,
wonder if I can win again.
there you go.
You
Right?
don't learn. They don't learn. Oh man, and I'll probably do it again. No, but I'm like you. Like I don't spend 4 points. I spend 20 points and then 20 more and then 50 more, and I'm like I need to log off before
Yeah.
before everything's gone. Because yeah, you have a plan. You have spreadsheets and lists, and then there's that little hit of dopamine that's like, ooh, I clicked a button and a number appeared. I want to let me get that feeling
Oh, that's
50 more
a good number.
times.
Let me press my luck. Let me keep going.
Yeah.
Big bucks, no whammy. Oh,
Oh, oh man,
that's
I'm
happened.
I'm old enough to get that reference, and I very much appreciate it. God, I I I remember watching that show on my cousin's giant, tube TV with the dial on the front
Hmm.
in between rounds
Yeah,
of Super Mario Brothers. Oh man. Anyway, I'm old.
yeah. So just for all you youngins in the crowd, yeah, back in the day, we actually had to get up and go to the TV and turn the little dial thing to change channels. And then, if you were wondering, well, you didn't have a remote back then? Well, yeah, when you were the kid, you were the remote. Parents said, hey, get up and change the channel.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah,
TVs
we
were
were the,
deeper than they were tall.
yes.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Um, I got a PlayStation for Christmas when I was, I want to say 13, 12 or 13.
Hmm.
Um, and back then they were just called PlayStations because there was only the one. It didn't have a numeral after it. And my parents dug up an old tube TV and put it in my room, and I felt like a king. Like I had a gaming system, I had a TV where I could also watch, you know, network TV
Hmm.
or network TV football on Saturday and Sunday because that's what I was obsessed with. I was living the dream, man. I thought there's no way it gets better than this. I got a TV in my own room. Um, yeah,
Well, yeah, my first gaming system was an Atari.
nice.
Yeah, I don't even remember the number, but it was the old one with the little joystick and the one button and actual cartridges we plugged in. Um, and then at some point, my dad basically swapped gaming systems because I guess we got bored of the games we had. And rather than buy new games, he just traded wholesale. You take our Atari systems, and we got Intellivision,
Hmm.
the Intellivision game system. And go ahead and Google that one, kids. Um, but instead of a joystick, it had like a keypad and a little dial disc that you'd actually use for directions, and you kind of held it like this. It was it was very different.
Hmm. I've heard. I never played
Now,
one. I definitely heard of in television. I never played one though.
um, yeah, there were a lot of different games. I think their big claim to fame was some of their games had voices.
Oh wow.
Uh, yeah, and we're talking. This is back in the day, so having even terrible computer generated voices was still a big step up from absolutely nothing.
Mm. I had friends in elementary school who had. I was just googling to make sure this is a real thing. A Jaguar. I don't know if,
Yep, Atari Jaguar.
yeah,
That was fancy. I did not have. We were not fancy enough for a Jaguar.
yeah. Their
And
dad worked for was it Panasonic? I don't know. It's and it was always bringing home gadgets and other cool stuff. It seemed so high tech at the time.
oh, it was. It totally was. And then you know, not couldn't even get into laser discs, CDI, like I don't know, all that stuff that should be in museums. I get it.
Yeah. I still have. I don't think it works. I still have my original Game Boy. The like
Hmm.
yeah. I think it's in a shelf over there. Um, and I just have it because it's fun to remember that it's a giant brick of a thing with a screen this big. Um, But playing Tetris to level, whatever impossible level you get to, or playing Contra like in the backseat of a car, trying to play by the light of like the street lights,
Mhm.
so you're seeing like every third frame as the street lights go by.
Yeah.
Uh, the
Even
kids,
sell out for the little light that you could put on the Game Boy.
yes, we had a light thing, and we had a one of them was a magnifying glass.
Yeah, yep, the magnifying glass.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wish I had some of that old stuff. Some of it's worth like some money. I used to have the original Nintendo, and I actually had Rob the robot.
Had what?
Um, the little Rob ROB the robot. Um, have you ever played Smash Brothers or seen Smash Brothers being played?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the character that kind of looks like a little robot? And never mind. But
Oh.
anyway, apparently it's enough of a collector's item that it's worth some money.
Huh.
But knowing me and my brother, we probably destroyed it somewhere. Um, just like my kids destroyed a bunch of my PlayStation games
Oh.
when they were young, and some of those would have been worth money if they didn't destroy them. So kids are so stupid. And I'm including myself back when I was a kid too. I don't
Oh
know
yeah.
how I survived being old man.
Absolute moron. Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Oh man. Yeah, no, I remember when we got internet before we got cable in my house. Um,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, I grew up without cable. My parents got basic cable. I think I came home from college, and they had got, and then my dad was watching ESPN, and I was like, "What?" Um, so yeah, that was a thing, um, or wasn't a thing when I was growing up. So that
Was
again,
it
one of
you
those things
meant
that feels like the lap of luxury. When you're growing up to have more than seven channels. Um,
when you say you got internet first? Was it the internet through like AOL? Got the free 1,000 hours of AOL through the mail through those CDs they used to send out?
I don't remember if it was the AOL, but it's definitely like dial up. It was the
Uh-huh.
early the shrieking and the you have 30 minutes because you're taking up the one phone line kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm so sorry. I totally derailed this from
No, this
actual
is this is
football.
fine. It.
Talking
Uh,
about stuff like 80% of the audience has no
we've we've
idea what
lost we've lost the whole. This is just for the two of us now.
there we go. Next on the Sim NFL podcast, two old men yelling at cloud.
Oh yeah. So strapped an onion to my belt, which was the style at the time. Oh gosh. Well, I don't have any segues back for us. Do you have any? There's no segues. There's only like hard left turns at this point to get to.
No, no, or just throwing on the e-brake and holding on to the dashboard.
My God. Whoo. Good times. Any Oh, here's a question because as someone who's been in a lot of other sims, played a lot of other games, anything that you would steal from any of those old other sims, if time and resources were not an issue, and any cool things that other places did that you would steal and add to our sim if you could.
Uh, wow. I mean, the obvious seeming answers are probably not realistic because, there's always a little wish list about, I'd love to be a little more granular about some of the decisions being made, maybe having third down packages
Mm.
or, both offense and defense, um, things of that nature. But at the same time, I also kind of have to keep in the back of my mind that as much as I'd love to institute some of these things, it's like there is a very real cost to doing this, both in terms of, just making the sim bigger and more complex, plus the whole, Rocket and Tuscan and you and others and Jedi Bob and so on have to, like, take the time to actually code this stuff out and actually, figure out how that seemingly obvious thing, like fix the fourth down logic or fix the end of game logic where no, I really don't want to kick a field goal down four
Mm-hmm.
when I'm at 30, you know, that kind of thing. Um, so as much as I'd love to bring a lot of that granularity into it, or being able to say put in certain packages with certain downs or distances, um, I'm not. I don't really know that I, you know, want to see too many things go. One thing I do want to, of course, now that I say that, I'm going to totally contradict myself. Uh, that end of game logic would be nice. You know, I know the way the sim works is we set a ratio of passes to runs and so on and so on, but holy cow, I would really love to stop throwing the freaking ball around, even though I'm an air raid team, when I'm up like by 8 and we're under 2 minutes.
Mm.
Can we stop throwing pick sixes, please? Can I just kneel the freaking ball?
Yes.
And so victory formations, I do know that you've mentioned that that is something that you guys are going to be looking at.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's realistic to or feasible to throw timeouts in there and actually, like, stop the clock sooner, or or things of that nature. Like, if you're on defense and you're losing, to stop the clock so they can't run as much time off. I don't know if that's a possibility,
Hmm.
or if the juice is worth the squeeze, so to speak, from an implementation standpoint.
Uh, yeah, I have no idea, but I understand the desire for it. People want a little more control over, those key aspects of the game. Those handful of times when, um, yeah, you do really want to change the clock. Because right now it's basically like if you're losing in the final few minutes, like it goes to a hurry up and the clock runs in general a little slower, but it's still very
Mhm.
variable. And like you say, there are times when if you don't have the ball, you want to have more means of controlling the clock. So
Right.
yeah, but
So I guess that's the only thing I kind of focus on for now. Anything else is, well, is for other people to think about and, argue over.
yeah, yeah. Anyone listening, if you've ever had a defensive end return kicks or ever had a wide receiver play cornerback, you know that things are never as simple as you think, and they're never quite as bulletproof as you program them to be. Uh,
No, I swear I did not put my defensive tackle like seventh on the wide
my
receiver
God,
depth chart.
I know. I invented a whole scenario in the last Sim NFL show. It'd be like, why on earth did the defensive end return a kick, a punt, and why did he get 40 yards down the field before someone caught him? Like, this is pure Dan Connolly with the Patriots, just like taking off. Like, okay, I guess that happened. But then again, as I always say with the sim, the moment something weird happens in the sim, my brain always goes to some real life analog where that actually happened. Like Dan Connolly returning a kickoff for the Patriots, like 60 yards. Every time something wild happens, I'm like, well, there was that one time where it actually did happen in real life. So, um, not trying to make excuses, um, but
No, but it is funny that, it's like, well, no, I did see that one time. It did happen.
right.
Yeah.
And as long, as long as it doesn't cost you the game, it's no more than a fun little anecdote,
Yeah.
an answer on a trivia question somewhere. Um,
Although if we could somehow iron out the kick return yardage so we can actually see if Dan Conley did make it 60 yards or six, that would be nice.
yeah,
I mean, I know it's not a huge need, but
yeah, and
it
I
would
think I'm not sure about stats for special teams, especially for returns, and I feel like defensive touchdowns still don't show up on the interface. because when I'm doing like players of the week stuff, I feel like I always have to like go
Mhm.
through and look for defensive touchdowns because every so often I miss it. And people are like, "What? You know, the guy got a pick six. He's not player of the week." And I'm like, I gotta if I want to find those, I feel like I have to go through the play by play and like Control F touchdown to make sure there's
Yeah, it
no.
does feel a little hit or miss seeing it. Um, I feel like it that happens more with like scoop and scores,
Hmm.
but yeah, it is sometimes hard to tell what actually happened until okay, I got to spend some time looking at the couple of plays afterwards to see how this how this happened.
Yeah. Or specifically on when games are streamed on Discord, there's a thing where if you run out of bounds and then fumble,
Mhm.
it doesn't show. Like it shows if you on the interface, but it doesn't show in the play-by-play on Discord. So you'll have these random changes of direction, changes of possession that don't that aren't
Oh,
otherwise indicated.
they show on the Discord, but not on the play-by-play.
No, they're on the interface and on the
Oh, okay,
play-by-play.
okay,
But when they
gotcha.
stream on
Yeah,
Discord, it
okay.
doesn't show that there was a turnover. You just the other team just has the ball all of a sudden.
And like,
Um,
oh,
but then
okay,
you scroll up and you go, "Oh, yep, somebody ran out of bounds." That's a thing that doesn't get picked up for some reason.
yeah. Sorry, Justin, we're just piling on your work now.
Sorry, we can talk about being old some more if don't want to.
I'm not sure which one you prefer.
I don't know. The poor man just got back from vacation. We should probably give him a break. But
I I know.
my God.
Well, that is the reward for work well done is more work.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I learned that lesson a few times in my real job.
Yeah. And also you and getting kicked upstairs to become commish.
Hey, you know, sometimes you get asked to help with a thing, and then you help with another thing, and then they give you a title. Um, Sometimes that just happens, which is great. Um,
Yeah.
but the cool thing is, but then I got the title and I was like, oh wait, I could actually use this, and I started being proactive and suggesting things, and a lot of things didn't land, but some things did. So it's
You were able to reduce. It wasn't just a okay, more work kind of thing.
right. But also, it was originally a oh, since you did these things, can we give you a title? But then those things were things that the interface took over, like processing free agents, which we did,
Mhm.
manually for a year. Um, but then that freed up time to talk about other stuff, like fifth year options or AAV or other things we've added over the years. Um, so yeah, you
Yeah.
keep
Because
busy.
I'm sure you have your punch list of things that need to be accomplished in the sim over the next, I don't know, year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is. Um, how I guess how far in advance do you like when it comes to that list of okay, these are the things we want to fix? Um, is it kind of like a okay, we got to fix it this off season, and then other stuff we'll wait and see, or we'll get to it if we have time? I guess I'm kind of asking like how far out in advance do you and the team, I guess, kind of plan a lot of these changes or schedule them in, I guess.
Yeah, for the most part, it's like you say, new stuff comes in, and then we prioritize it both based on need and then feasibility, and then usually going into an off season, there's a list of high priority that it's like we really feel like we can't move on until we get this, and then some other things that are nice to have, um, and usually we get through all or almost all of our must haves, and then a few of our nice to haves, and then other stuff gets kicked down the line. Um, Occasionally we know something's a heavy lift and we'll put it off. Like when for UDFA's, it was in the middle. It was we had the owner meeting where the owners agreed that we would do UDFA's differently and there would be a bid and they would get a minimum contract instead of a bidding
Mhm.
war. But even when we approved that, we said we just knew development wise it wasn't going to come in the next off season. So when the owners approved it, it was to start in 2027. Um,
Okay.
so occasionally we'll have a big lift that we'll be like, we just know it's not going to get to this year. Um, but I pretty much, in terms of concrete goals, I don't think ever more than another season out. So we usually have this year, and then whatever we can't get to is hopefully a next year thing. Um,
Yeah, and
but
of course, we don't want to put too much on your plate because A,
mm,
that's not fair to you all, and
yeah,
B, there's kind of a rhythm where we can't have the off season too long because otherwise people will get bored and you
hmm
know start not paying attention anymore and so on and so on.
yeah. Although with the NFL, like like there is also a lower bound on how long the offseason can be because you have you know you know retirements and then progressions, and then you have all the pre-draft stuff, and then you want to have significant free agency before the draft, and then you've got UD like so there is, and then camps now that we've added that. So there is also a minimum bound on how much time you need to not flood people with all the stuff you have to do for the off season. I think last year we aimed for 8. I think we ended up at 10. Um, but I don't know. I feel like 7 or 8 really is kind of the lower bound. Otherwise, you're just racing through everything. Um, but yeah, you try to keep it as quick as we can to get back to get back into the season. Um, and I think that's kind of where we want to keep it as minimal as possible while still having stuff to do pretty much every week. Um, but yeah, you know, I think our pace right now is like three seasons in 2 years, right? Because you've got an 18-week season, 3 a preseason, 4 a postseason. I mean, that's half a year right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're getting 8 to 10 weeks of off season, you're into 35, 36 weeks.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
So I think that's about where we're gonna be probably for a while. Is and
That
then
feels like a pretty good rhythm to me. I mean, yeah.
I think so. Um, and then just yeah, and trying to keep big stuff like the draft off of like major holidays and stuff like that, because the draft is amazing and I want as many people as possible to get to experience that. Um, and in fact, Rocket's already told me that I've forgotten to until this exact minute. So sorry, Rocket, that I need to start putting feelers out for when the 27 draft is, so that we get it early on people's calendars and everyone can make space. Because it is like the absolute best weekend, and we want as many people
It
to
is. I mean,
partake as we
we
can.
need to uh, make sure or encourage whoever holds the number one pick to do a cameo, talk about Dean and the sock, or have that person talk about Dean and the sock.
Tradition,
All the things that happen
as is tradition.
as this tradition.
Oh man, that's the fun, right? You can't code that. Like that stuff just happened. Like there's code and then there's people, and I know which one is less predictable. Um, yeah, the cameo thing's been fun.
Yeah,
Um,
that was actually one of the things that got me to stick around the old sim and by extension the new sim so much was community.
yeah,
Because other sims I've been in before that, I was there, I was doing a thing, but I didn't really talk to anyone. They didn't talk to me. It was just, no one really talked as, okay, here's the game. The devs would fix stuff if it broke. Okay. Then I'd go through about, I think I went through about 10, 11 seasons. And then when I finally said I was done with this because I was going to pay more attention to the other sim, I remember posting in the forums like, hey, uh, I'm done here, been real. Half of the replies were like, wow, you've been here this long? I didn't even know you, I didn't even pay attention to you. Like, well,
yeah.
okay, there. So But then when I got to old sim, people were doing college game days, actually, putting out shows like this for an hour where they talk about the games going on, highlight games of the week, and have roundtables talking about preseason, media, the whole nine. So that is definitely one of the things I enjoy about this sim, the both sims, this group of people is the
Hmm.
fact that we have people like yourself who are willing to do things like this, these shows on a regular basis and put out media that's all kinds of fun to watch and or read. It's just yeah, the sense of community is amazing. Like I could totally see myself doing things like, buying custom jerseys of people who don't exist in real life just to hang it up on the wall somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Went out, actually bought this shirt just because I was like, well, I gotta, I could get the hockey hoodie, but um, then I saw this champions thing. I was like, oh, well, that matches pretty well, so let's do that.
That's yeah, that's true. I hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, if I win a Super Bowl, I'm absolutely getting whatever our MVP is as a custom Browns jersey. Um, because yeah, that's I mean, what are sports and what are communities except yeah,
Yeah.
chances to get together, talk, have fun, bond over common interests,
Mhm.
invent ridiculous in jokes and odd traditions that we all do, even if we don't remember why.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And then, of course, trade-off is that someone like my wife will look at it and look at me and look at the jersey and just like, okay,
Yeah,
this is one of your things. I don't understand what you're doing. I have no idea. It's don't even try to explain it to me because I won't understand. You just do you. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Enjoy.
Everyone needs a thing. So yeah,
Everyone definitely needs a thing. Um, I I've met with a few people and from the sim here in real life. Um, one of them being Sarge, and I actually because he came to my neck of the woods when he was doing some school when he was going to school for a bit, and he actually got promoted while he was here. So he mentioned it, and I was like, hey, can I show up? He's like, yeah, cool. So I showed up and shook his hand after he was done, and his family's there. And I introduced myself to his wife, and I'm like, you know, pleasure to meet you. I'm one of your husband's fake football internet friends. And she's like, they do exist. I said, yep, yep, we exist. We're real. He's not just making it up.
oh god. Yes, the people are real. The users are real. Players are fake, but the people are real.
Real people spending real time on fake players and fake games.
Yeah,
You can't be.
it's real to me. Damn it.
It feel real to me.
oh,
And yeah, most of you won't catch that reference either.
see, we understand each other here. This is a safe space. Uh, well, it's been wonderful to talk to you, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about old games and old game systems and fake sports and whatever else we rambled on about over the last hour. Um,
Yeah, no, the pleasure's all mine. Thanks for indulging me and, going off the cliff with me and talking about Ataris and televisions and dial-up internet and TVs that are actually heavy.
oh, good times. All right. Well, thank you so much. Had a blast. Everyone listening, if you made it this far, congratulations. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode, but until then, take care, guys.
All right, see you later, everyone.